10 biggest tanks in the world. Number 10. TOG-2. The TOG-2 was a British prototype super heavy tank developed in the early stages of World War II. The vehicle was 10 meters long, over 3 meters high, and weighed 81 tons. Its armament consisted of a 76.2 mm gun. During its design, it was assumed that the war would resemble World War I trench warfare, so the tank was adapted to cross trenches and support advancing infantry. The TOG-2 was very similar to the lighter TOG-1, and like it, had low mobility and could carry several infantry soldiers. Only one prototype was built, which is now on display at the Bovington Tank Museum in the United Kingdom. Number 9. Panzerkampfwagen 8 Maus. The Maus was a German-designed super heavy tank from World War II, with a total weight reaching 188 tons. It was the heaviest and largest tank ever constructed, though it never entered mass production nor saw combat. Germany built only 2 incomplete prototypes. The vehicle was 10 meters long and 3.6 meters tall. It was armed with a 128 mm gun, 68 shells, paired with a 75 mm gun, 200 shells, and a 7.92 mm machine gun, 1,000 rounds. The hull was made of steel armor plates, 150 to 220 millimeters thick, making it the most heavily armored German vehicle of the war. It could reach speeds of only 20 kilometers per hour on paved roads, with a range of 160 kilometers on roads or 62 kilometers off-road. Power came from either a 1080 horsepower MB509 V12 gasoline engine or a 1200 horsepower MB517 diesel engine, driving 2 electric motors. Tests revealed that the tank was so heavy, it couldn't cross most bridges. Number 8. Char 2C. The Char 2C was a French super heavy tank developed during World War I but did not participate in the conflict. Fully loaded, it weighed 69 tons thanks to very thick armor for the time, 22 to 45 millimeters, and its massive dimensions, over 10 meters long and 4 meters tall. Inside it had 2 combat compartments. The front one was topped by a 3-man turret, the first in history, armed with a 75 mm gun, while the rear featured a machine gun turret. Additionally, 3 independent 8 mm machine guns were mounted at the front. 2 200 to 250 horsepower engines powered each track independently, giving it a top speed of 15 kilometers per hour. Its 7 fuel tanks, totaling 1,260 liters, provided a 150-kilometer range. The tank was operated by a 12-man crew. Number 7. FCM-F1. The FCM-F1 was a French super heavy tank developed in the late interwar period. In 1940, 12 units were ordered to replace the Char 2C, but France was defeated before production could begin, and only one prototype was completed. The tank was 10.5 meters long, over 3 meters tall, and weighed 139 tons. It had 2 turrets, one front and one rear, each with a rapid-fire gun. The rear turret was raised above the front, similar to battleship turret designs. It was heavily armored and, by 1940, was the heaviest tank ever ordered into production, despite having 2 550 horsepower Renault V12 engines. Its speed was very low. Its primary purpose was to breach German fortifications rather than engage enemy tanks. Number 6. T-28. The T-28 super heavy tank was the heaviest tank designed for the US Army during World War II. The tank's later designation, T-95 gun motor carriage, causes some confusion in nomenclature. It was 11 meters long, 3 meters high, and weighed 86 tons. Initially, it was intended for breaching the Siegfried Line, and later considered for the invasion of Japan. It lacked a turret, resulting in a low profile, and by standard classification, it was more of an armored gun than a tank. Its main armament was a 105mm T5E1 gun. Compared to other American tanks of the era, it had extremely thick armor, up to 300mm, offering protection even against the German 88mm gun. Powered by a 410 horsepower GAF V8 engine, it reached only 14 km per hour. It had 4 tracks instead of the usual 2, with the outer tracks removable for transport. 5 prototypes were planned, but only 2 were built, and none saw combat. Number 5. T-30. The T-30 was an American heavy tank designed at the end of World War II to counter new German vehicles, including the Tiger tanks. It was 11.5 meters long, 3 meters tall, and weighed 72.5 tons. It was armed with a 155mm T7 gun. Design work started in April 1945 and continued until 1947, and 2 prototypes were tested at Aberdeen, in Maryland, in 1948. A version of the tank designated as the T-30E1 had an additional hatch at the rear of the turret for ejecting shells. The second variant was designated the T-30E2. One example, with a modernized turret, was built after the war and received the designation T-57. The T-30 was also intended to destroy fortifications and bunkers and support infantry assaults. The only surviving T-30 tank is currently located at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Number 4. K-Wagen. The K-Wagen was a German super-heavy tank with 2 prototypes completed by the end of World War I. It was 13 meters long, 3 meters tall, and weighed 120 tons. Its massive size made transport difficult, so it was designed to be split into 4 parts for railway transport and reassembled near the battlefield. It was armed with 4 77mm Fortress guns and 7 MG-08 machine guns, and operated by a 27-man crew. The commander issued orders via electric lights, and targeting was comparable to that of a destroyer. Drivers had to steer blindly based on instructions. The Germans envisioned the K-Wagen as true land ships, though none ever saw battle. Number 3. Mendeleev tank. The Mendeleev tank was a design for an armored combat vehicle on tracks, developed before World War I in the Russian Empire. Its designer was engineer Vasily Mendeleev, son of Dmitry Mendeleev, the inventor of the periodic table. The vehicle was to have armor 100 to 150 millimeters thick, armed with a 120 millimeter naval gun and a machine gun, with an 8-man crew. It was 13 meters long, 4.4 meters tall, and weighed 170 tons. Due to transportation issues, it was designed to move on railway tracks independently. Its maximum speed was planned to be 27 kilometers per hour. Innovations included pneumatic gun loading and pneumatic suspension with the ability to lower the tank for firing. Number 2. Tsar tank. The Tsar tank was a Russian prototype armored vehicle built in 1914 to 1915. The project was abandoned after tests showed the engines were too weak and the vehicle vulnerable to artillery. It was 18 meters long, 9 meters high, and weighed 40 tons. Its design was completely different from modern tanks, featuring a 3-wheel chassis with 2 massive front wheels, 9 meters in diameter, and a smaller rear wheel, 1.5 meters. The turret, intended to house cannons and machine guns, was located nearly 5 meters above the ground. Additional guns were to be mounted on the sides and in a small turret underneath the chassis. Number 1. Landkreuz P1000 Ratte. The Landkreuz P1000 Ratte was a prototype super heavy tank planned for Nazi Germany. Weighing 1,000 tons, it would have been over 5 times heavier than the largest tank ever produced, the Maus. It was 35 meters long and 11 meters tall. Designed in 1942 and approved by Adolf Hitler, the project was cancelled in early 1943. Construction began but was never completed. It was to be armed with two 280mm naval guns mounted in a turret from a Scharnhorst-class battleship. One such turret was produced and later used in a coastal battery in Norway. The tank was also to feature a 128mm gun, 8 20mm anti-aircraft guns, and two 15mm machine guns. Each side would have had 3 1.2-meter wide tracks. Propulsion was to come from either two 8,500 horsepower MAN 24-cylinder engines or 8 Daimler-Benz MB 501 20-cylinder engines, 2,000 horsepower each, to achieve the required 16,000 horsepower needed to move the vehicle. If you liked the video, leave thumb up and subscribe to the channel.